Oh, we're live. It's 1 o'clock. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the real property committee meeting to order. It's 1 o'clock, Wednesday, November 4th. I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting via Zoom because of the pandemic, and acknowledge that the press and the public have been notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. All committee members are present, including administration, and then our next item is approval of the previous meeting's minutes of October 7th. If there's
So moved.
Second.
motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? Next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. We were all emailed public comments for this. There's a few. I didn't, Nicole, read those for the record for us.
Absolutely. Gingit Campbell, 3907 Hartnett Boulevard. I'm a resident that wants tidal wave sports at the Marina, a green space, and that business can share that space. I also want you guys to support all local businesses. If we want nice places to eat and get coffee, the businesses need your support, not you ignoring them or even doing things to hurt them. Local business only helps us on the island and keeps our taxes from skyrocketing. Christine Donovan, 31 26th Avenue. Thank you for moving forward with creating a public area where the former water sports dock was located. This will be a wonderful area for families and visitors in a quiet corner of the marina. I believe that this is what the majority of residents have requested and desired. Given all of the controversy over the marina and all the time it has taken for City Council to deal with it, I am wondering if it would make sense to form a committee made up of residents and experts to oversee the marina. Not only would this give you the ability to pull in experts in real estate, planning, etc., but it would add to continuity through changes in City Council members. Note, I am not interested in being a member of such committee, though I am happy to volunteer time in the creation of the park area. Wayne Westmoreland, 23 Waterway Island Drive. I am an IOP property owner / soon-to-be resident and would like to comment on the plans for the marina. I mainly would like to see a new restaurant there, but more immediately, I would like to see the water sports business remain. I like the fact that it is a revenue source for the city and that it contributes to the resort / vacation destination feel of the island. I enjoy seeing the jet skiers having fun, and I expect for many of them that this is one of the few ways they have access to any form of boating. And that closes your comments.
Ryan, you're on mute.
Perfect. Thanks, Nicole. We're going to move on to old business. We'll have the update on the Marina Dock Rehabilitation Project. Desiree, you want to give us any type of update on that we got that we talked about earlier this week?
Yes, I have a ton of information to share with the committee about the project. It's moving along very nicely. As you all know, we had a pre-construction meeting with the stakeholders last month. That was well attended and turned out to be very productive. Yesterday, the Marina manager, Brian, held another pre-construction meeting with ATM, the contractor, and his subtenants to talk about scheduling and just kind of, making sure that they're well aware of the project and how that's going to be, affecting, I guess, the operations somewhat during the construction. Again, very well received and successful. I've got really good feedback from both Brian and Kirby on this meeting yesterday. The design for the fuel hut has been submitted to the building department's office for review and approval. Then it will be submitted to Salmon Dredging for pricing. You all recall that we did not include monies in contract amount for the actual construction of the fuel hut, but council did include and approve it, a placeholder of $100,000 for this work. I wanted to mention that the Marina manager is paying for the design fees on his own. It's not being covered by the $100,000 for the construction. So the city will be funding the construction of that. We are waiting. We've submitted requests to the contractor, to Salmons, on a couple of items for change orders, potential change orders for us to consider. One, as you all know, is for the relocation of the former water sports dock out of the setback line that's encroaching into the intercoastal waterway along the outside of that floating dock.
Right.
We have not yet received pricing for that, but they're working on it. We have also requested Salmons to provide some pricing for the improvements to the boat ramp. We've heard some concerns from users and from the marina manager about the drop off at the end of the boat ramp. The boat ramp is part of the leased premises to Marina Joint Venture, so any improvements would have to be covered by the tenant, by Marina Joint Ventures. But we wanted to get some pricing for him as part of, just taking advantage or assuming that because they've already been mobilized, there may be some cost savings with having that work done, depending on the pricing, of course, of those improvements. So we're also waiting on that from Salmon Dredging to provide. We have executed a change order in the amount of $1,500 for the electrical redesign of the electrical panel that was originally contemplated very close to the sandpit area of the restaurant. And at the request of the potential new tenants for the restaurant, we are working with ATM and with the contractor to relocate that electrical panel to the area behind the soundstage. It makes more sense. Our fire department feels like, it's a better area. It'll be better protected. So I've approved the change order with the understanding that the restaurant tenants will be covering any additional expense related to that relocation, which has been estimated to be between 10 and 15,000. It could be a lot less, but we won't know yet until we get those designs in front of the contractor for pricing. We are also working on the coordination with the Dominion Energy for the relocation of the transformer that's very close to the outside bar area in the restaurant. A new transformer is going to be installed in that grassy green area that separates the boat ramp from the parking lot to the restaurant. That will be feeding the docks that are along Morgan Creek Grill along Morgan Creek that are in front of the restaurant. So there's not going to be a need for that green transformer that's right in the middle of the sand area. So we're coordinating with ATM, Salmons, Dominion Energy, and try to get that all done as seamless as possible. The bulkhead recoating process and project will be starting November 17th. So that is great. They will start working on the Dewey's Marina property line side and working their way in. And the contractor also plans to begin some upland utility work concurrently with some of the bulkhead recoating work.
Just a second. On the bulkhead recoating work is, I know it's pretty involved. Are they going to be timing that with tides and everything and moving forward? I'd imagine they'd have to do it at low tides so they can get the entire bulkhead. And I know there's going to be a lot of jetting and noise and make sure that they're working within our noise ordinance as well.
Well, it will be noisy, yes, and they are aware of the city's noise ordinance. Although there are some exceptions for city work that the city could take, advantage of. However, we want to be cognizant and respectful of the residents along that area. But yeah, we've communicated that to the contractor. Actually, I was surprised to hear that the tides don't necessarily affect too much of the work. The work is scheduled to take place to be finished in about 20 weeks. So it's a long process, longer than we all originally thought, just because of how thorough it will be. But yes, it will be noisy. The Phillips will be conducting that work. That's the subcontractor that Salmons has secured for that work, and he attended the pre-construction meeting. So. Working with Brian, working with also the potential marina tenants on that work will be essential for it to be successful.
Brian?
Yes, sir.
Just commenting on your comment on the noise ordinance. Let's make sure they stay within the timeframes. I can imagine that sound being channeled across the water. We've had issues with the band shell and other things. This is probably going to make the band shell seem like a really minor issue. I imagine this is, and Ryan, you and Kevin may know a lot more about it, but I imagine this is going to be really noisy.
Yes, and they did indicate that, you know, when I shared with them the time for noisy work, they said that you know, that
Well,
fits.
well, the point is no exceptions, even though we're allowed to make exceptions for the city.
Correct. Yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. I just wanted to make the distinction that that's included in the code. However, they will be working within those.
Yeah.
Okay.
So last thing to include is that the first set of docks for the area between Dewey's and the boat ramp will be arriving early to mid-January. The docks are shipped partially assembled. They are sent to Salmons for some additional assembly and then are floated by barge to the Marina site for final placement. The final set of docks to replace the ones in front, along Morgan Creek in front of the restaurant, left of the boat ramp, will be shipped and should be arriving in February.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions, Kevin? You're on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Desiree, where are we with the builder's risk?
We've executed that. We'll be executing that today, going through the AIA contract, but we've notified the insurance and we've notified the contractor as well.
So we found somebody that would offer the builder's risk?
Yes.
And we settled at a price?
Yes, the $50,000 that was approved.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Any other questions? Perfect. Let's get an update on the ADA compliant beach walkover. I know you had reached back out to the county, Desiree, and talked about our Greenbelt funding.
Mm-hmm.
So
the next step on this project is, because this will be different than the project that was originally submitted, we would need to get council to approve changing the scope slightly with the new material and the new idea, which is a little bit less intrusive than the boardwalk proposal. Once council approves that direction, then we need to submit a written letter to the Greenbelt program to get them to approve the design, get them to approve the project, and then approve us using the same amount of money that was allocated to the city, the $100,000 towards this. So I know Douglas was trying to get some additional pricing from another vendor, and I think we're at a point where if the committee wants to move forward with this option, to make a recommendation to council to get that approved and then submit it to the Greenbelt to finalize that process. I think there's also some conversation about adding some additional paneling, I guess, on the sides to mirror what we're not calling it the observation deck, or an area for people to move to the side.
Right.
And that's possible. It would just need to be, we'll need to add some square footage to the actual order. But, certainly possible. Once that's done, once council approves, the Greenbelt program to approve, we would have to go through the bidding process.
So we need a motion, Desiree?
Yes.
Yeah, recommend a motion.
To move forward to full council with Desiree's recommendation.
For second.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Correct. And Desiree, we had talked about this. Our original funding was for about $100,000. We're looking at this maybe coming in at 75-ish, maybe a little close around there. So, and I know we had talked about the whole Greenbelt funding is coming up again, and trying to allocate some additional funds with these funds and use them for later on in our agenda, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yes, we
okay.
have a total of $185,000. So if we use 75, we still have 100 still available to the city. The Greenbelt program has opened a new funding cycle that is the deadline is end of January. So we have an opportunity to submit, I think we want to talk about it later on the agenda, submit some footbridges, similar to what we see in Sullivan's Island.
Okay.
as-
Well, I'll go ahead. Let's go ahead. We have a motion and a second on moving this forward to the full council. Is all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Perfect. Now let's move on to the discussion of improving the beach access path between 21st with the footbridges. Similar to what we have seen at Sullivan's Island and possibly utilizing some the Greenbelt funding in order to do that.
Great idea. I do have a question, Ryan.
Go ahead, Randy.
Desiree, the additional funding cycle has no conflict with the existing monies, right? Just for clarity, it's a whole new cycle, so the money's left over in the original funding cycle pending approval from the county would remain, and we'd also hopefully attempt and secure additional funding, right?
Correct. Yes, and the committee asked staff last month to conduct an inventory of the beach access paths that typically flood or have standing water after heavy rains. So I've had our public works assistant director and Donnie conduct a quick inventory of these locations, and they've identified 9 that could be looked at. So what we're going to be doing is just calculating or doing some calculations on potential cost and design for these footbridges, so that we can, include it as part of a funding application to the Greenbelt program. These are located at 28th, 29th, 32A, 34A, 36A, 37th, 39th, 45th, and 50th. So we're still working through that. We have some prices or estimated cost per foot of $125,000 to $150,000. As we all know, the price of lumber has increased dramatically. So in the next month or two, we'll be working on getting an application done for this initiative.
Yeah, the price of treated lumber in general has gone up almost 75%.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous. Okay, well, good, and we'll look for it. With something we'll just keep on the agenda moving forward and try to get more information out of Sullivan's Island and some design plans and stuff like that.
And more money.
Yeah, more money, correct. We have on item, where are we at? D, discussion of conceptual designs of the proposed public dock and green space at the Marina. I think you're going to pull some information out of what was previously brought up. I mean, prior to the referendum on the Marina, or Desiree, do you want to update us on that?
Yeah, of course. So what we have done, and I've pulled Douglas in, who's been helping me. We've been working together on this initiative, and I'll let him sort of walk us through what we've done and show some schematics and some conceptual drawings that we've secured. But what we have done is we've met with the stakeholders. We've met with the potential new restaurant tenants. We've met with the existing marina manager, and also met with Kelly Messier. She is a landscape architect that lives on the island and was interested in donating her time and her talents to the city pro bono to help develop some conceptual drawings of, what is possible for that space, and sort of think outside the box and kind of help us guide us to a point where, the community feels that they have a space at the Marina, just like council, voted for a couple months ago. So we're going to start by showing you, the existing site. We're going to show you and kind of remind everybody about the space that's available to the city. And then we'll share with you Kelly Messier's original first draft of a conceptual idea for green space and the public dock. And then we'll talk about some of the challenges and some of the things that we would need to coordinate and get cooperation from the marina tenant, the marina manager, and also the restaurant. So Douglas, do you want to take it from here? And we're going to be sort of piggybacking on each other, and as we talk this through with you all.
Yes, thank you, Desiree. So if it's okay with everybody, to just kind of talk about, I think it would be helpful if we started with the confines that we have and kind of what the hurdles that we're trying to work within. And I'm going to try to share my screen there. Can everybody
It's there.
see that?
Yeah.
It's good.
So on this screen, you will see the white. It's basically an L that's surrounded in green. So that's the parking space. And you will notice that white leg, I'll call it the leg, that's going along the boardwalk is not terribly long. It comes down and it's 30, 40 feet or so there. So that's really the area that we kind of clearly have to work within. So starting with that, we went and we met with the various stakeholders down there. We met with the family, the IOP families group. We met with Brian. We met with Kelly. And we really talked about, what we could do to kind of work the site together to make that, to expand basically that space that was available to us. And what we described, I guess, as the vision to them was a path that would use the little space we have, but then tie into those areas that are controlled by them that are adjacent to the boardwalk, and also tie into the back of the, and I'm going to try to, I'm going to see if I can, well, I may not be able to do it, but we wanted to try to work with them, and I don't know if these lines will come up.
They're showing, Douglas.
All right, we're good.
To basically work a pedestrian path around the edge of that site. Oh, I went a little long there.
Yes, that's what,
It's bottom, yeah, we don't go into Dewey's, but then, so that initial part of the line is what we really talked with them about doing. This bottom part of the line is something that came up in conversations with Brian as something he would really like to do. He said he felt like the pedestrian traffic and the bike traffic and the car traffic all would use that 41st Avenue ingress, and he would like to basically separate that traffic and send them down that lower property line and then around the site to kind of navigate around the perimeter of the site versus being in the middle of the site with all of the congestion. So that was Brian's kind of input on the project. I will say that the IOP families group really liked the idea of tying in that green space to the water's edge portion of the restaurant. They intend on cutting back the building in this area and making that part really the part where you would want to go for outdoor dining and being right there on the water's edge. So they are going to create a public space right at that corner. So we felt like, if we could do something that would tie into that and then continue on that, we would really be achieving a nice circulation and kind of helping everybody in that regard. So we met with Kelly, as Desiree said, and we explained to Kelly our confines and kind of what we would like to do. She has provided a conceptual plan. If I can. Oh, so I need to erase my, she did not put the,
Out in the water.
Yeah. There you go.
okay. So
There you
this
go.
is Kelly's conceptual plan. And to just kind of walk through it, Desiree, do you want to talk about some of the details on the plan in particular? And we can kind of go back to the challenges.
all right, so this design, obviously it's a sort of a first pass of a what may be possible. Like Douglas said, it would be ideal that the city, we have this component here, the short end of the L along the water. This area is, it's included in the shared parking that's managed and under the direction of the manager. This area along, across to the restaurant would need participation from the, from the restaurant. I'm not seeing it. There you go. Okay. And sort of the idea it was to create several seating areas along the water. We had seen some of the comments that we received from people was, we really want to have a place to watch the sunset, look at the water, enjoy a space along the water, people who don't have docks. So here you can see benches included in each set, benches that could be swinging benches, just like you see at the waterfront park and in downtown Charleston, also the waterfront park in Mount Pleasant. This semicircle is contemplated to be sort of a bench that could accommodate larger groups. So if you're, you and your partner are walking through, they can, enjoy the view from a bench. And if you're a group or a larger family, you can also have space along the semicircle bench. Here she's included, I guess I can't, since you can't, I'm moving my cursor thinking that you can see it. So this area along the sort of what looks like an entry walk, that would, that would be very neat, but that is contemplating using some of the parking that the city currently would have under control. Kelly spoke highly about, wanting to have sort of an entrance feel to the park. But, the city would be compromising some parking space that, it's highly, highly desirable in that area. Also this area, the circle right here would be a flagpole included with a seat wall, right over here. And to the left, you can see that we've incorporated some kayak storage. That's something that's been asked of, in the past. It was contemplated in the original redevelopment plan as something that people wanted to see. There's, obviously some complications with managing that. We shared this with some conceptual ideas with the mayor, and the mayor, had the thought of having something in that area that was similar to the picnic shelter at the rec, something with some shade and some picnic tables available for folks to have a picnic or whatnot. So again, this is very sort of high level conceptual of what could happen with the space that we have. We have, as Douglas was sharing earlier, we have had conversations with all the stakeholders, the Marina and the Marina manager, and they conceptually agree and like the idea. We obviously would have to share this with them and continue to, seek feedback from the community, of course, from council, and see, are there any spaces that we can, modify in a way that makes the space more usable. The area along the entry seems like, if the city really wants to enhance the parking and, we can modify that. It feels like there's could be some, wasted space. I don't want to say wasted, but, just knowing that the Marina site is so limited and parking is such a premium. So, I don't know, I guess we want to get initial reactions, but we still want to talk. There's something else that we want to show, Douglas. There you go. So, this slide attempts to show sort of the complications, right? Or the things that we would need to work through with the different stakeholders. As we've talked about, requiring participation from the IOP families group, the area around the shared, that's currently included in the shared parking lot that's managed by the Marina manager, would have to be relocated to a different area, which could include the area along the edge of the green fence that it's, would be under the city's control now. We could, relocate those spaces down here to make it possible so that we can have a concept that runs along the whole edge of the water and connects to the restaurant, and ultimately, maybe it's a phase 2, connects to what Douglas was talking about, along the boat ramp and then along 41st Avenue, so that we can completely segregate pedestrian traffic away from the parking lot, and we can have, more golf cart, more pedestrians having access to the whole site without necessarily getting into the huge parking lot. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that Kelly also included in her design additional golf cart parking, as you can see it there, along the green space and the benches. We recognize that that was another thing that was mentioned by, the input that we've received throughout the years, is we want more golf cart parking for residents. So, would be happy to answer questions or get some initial reactions from the committee. Again, this is first stab. It's definitely, interesting. There's things that would need to be worked through, and we need to get everybody on the same page and working towards the same goal.
Ryan, if I may, just quick thought, couple comments. One, it's nice this is not council driven. It's with input from the residents. And I think, the intent all along is to get the residents more engaged in the community owned marina. And I just think for everyone watching, this is the first time I've seen this. I think it's probably the first time my fellow council members have seen this. And the idea is to look, as we've always said, the art of the possible, and get resident engagement and decide, what plan makes the most sense for the community. And for once, have council step back a little bit from the marina and start talking about, and I've said it from the day I've been on the Real Property Committee, residential return on investment, and start seeing, that this is actually a space. And when you look at golf cart parking, just for what it's worth, it's not just residents, it's visitors, it's renters, it's people who would like to take a golf cart and come visit the marina and create some vibrancy down there, apart from, what we've got now. So Desiree, compliments to it. I think it looks great, and compliments to Kelly for stepping up pro bono and helping with this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and definitely extend our thank you to Kelly for, putting this together, at her, basically pro bono and no charge. Gives us an idea. And then basically what we want to do is put this out there and allow the residents to look at what's been established, what's possible. And I guess the biggest part of it is really trying to, again, get all the groups involved down there at the marina, to buy into it as well. So we found out that could be sometimes more difficult than we thought. Kevin, you got any comments or anything on this?
Yeah, I just want to share that I think that for the first stab at this is pretty neat, and for the limited space that we have, I think Desiree, you and Douglas and Kelly have done a fabulous job at the first run at it. Obviously, we got to get some buy-ins from the restaurant and Brian, but I would assume that if it's car parking, that would be down 41st.
For car parking?
Yeah, if a resident wants to drive their car down there to enjoy the dock, I would assume that they would park on 41st.
Kevin, currently anyone can after 6 o'clock. It's resident parking until 6 o'clock.
Yeah, well, and what I would add is this entry walk that you see assumes taking over a handful of parking spaces. That's something that could be eliminated. If we want to, include vehicular parking for the people, for residents or whoever wants to enjoy the public park and dock. So, when I first saw it, I thought it was wonderful. And I think if we had all the space in the world, but we have to, sort of prioritize, vehicular parking and maybe, whether we want to give up, that much. So yeah, but anybody, I mean, people can park, at the marina, and also there's residential only parking on 41st along 41st Avenue. The other thing I wanted to mention is, we've all heard the mayor always refer to this as an opportunity for folks to make donations. We have the brick program down at Front Beach. This would be an opportunity for the city to, along the walkway in front of the benches, that could be, pre-pervious material, pavers that, maybe the city could make available for people to have an engraved brick. Opportunities, to think about, donating benches or donating palm trees. That's certainly a possibility that I wanted to.
Excellent idea.
And that's one thing perfect. I'm waiting for it to pop back up. So and that's one of the questions I was had concerns about with especially this area here. Because if we're trying to go through and try to keep all the pedestrian traffic around the perimeter of here, this kind of dumps them out into the middle of the traffic. So that's one thing we'll have to look at. And but whether we go through and like you said, Kevin, I mean, these areas could be designated for just residential parking if we need to as well. But like I said,
or you leave some of the walkway with the palm trees. It's just a nice sense of arrival feature.
No, definitely. That's, like I said, this first stab at it, and we can go through and we'll continue to work on it. And like I said, we have to, there's a number of entities involved here that we have to have them buy in on it as well, and get everybody agreed to it. Go ahead, Desiree.
Douglas, can you speak a little bit about the dimensions that we discussed with Kelly? How much space we really are talking about between the edge of the water and where the golf cart parking ends?
Yeah, so the total strip is 25 feet in depth. And I don't have the exact breakdown there, but that appears to be kind of a third sidewalk, a third green space, and then a third parking. So, I'm guessing it's somewhere around 6-7 feet for each of those. 6-7 foot sidewalk, 6-7 feet of green space, and then 6 or 7 feet of parking depth. And then I think it was about 300 feet. Does that sound right, Desiree? About 300 feet in linear in length if we got the entire, if we got participation from all the stakeholders involved. And then, of course, like I said, it would ideally connect to a much longer path that would go all the way around.
Okay. Anybody else have?
No, Ryan, just a comment. I mean, frankly, it makes the marina a destination that I can't see anything but broad-based benefit to the island. More people desiring to come to the marina, more people desiring to come to the island. And it just looks to me like broad-based benefit to the community.
Perfect. Well, we'll continue to work on this, and Desiree will, I'm not sure what the next steps would be, perhaps continually talking with the other entities involved and seeing where they're at with this and what it'll take to, make something like this happen.
Probably starts with a restaurant lease.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we haven't shared this yet with the stakeholders other than conceptually when we had a meeting on site. And so we'll, obviously be sharing that with them and having more internal conversations about what this looks like. I just want to just clarify, we put this together, Kelly with, Kelly's expertise, and, I don't want this to, sort of end on Facebook and saying, oh, how is it possible the city doesn't control any of that? We recognize that there's challenges that need to be overcome, and this really needs to be a partnership. We're just asked to think big or think possible, and this is, this is certainly possible with everybody's participation. And it may not end up looking exactly like this, but certainly I think it's I guess a first good draft of what's possible there.
Excellent.
Thanks, Douglas. There you go. Perfect. We'll move on. Moving on to new business. There's nothing there. The next miscellaneous business is our next meeting date, which would be in December. And I'm not sure if,
We don't typically do that, do we?
no, we don't have a council meeting in December as well. So, Kevin? Oh, that was just your pen moving?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we can reschedule for January unless something else comes up that we need to meet. If we have to meet again to discuss, this potential green space and adjustments to anything that need to be done to work with the entities down there, then we can go ahead and schedule that as well if we need to. And I don't have a problem with it. I'll be in town.
Same.
We get a month off.
You never.
Kevin, that's theory.
Kevin, after this year, well, yeah, there's no months off. We've burned it all up.
Yeah, don't jinx it.
3 years of me.
To adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
We're at 1:42.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.